hit the music.
Oh, man. Tiger Cubs. That's right. We're back for very, very special, for me, long-awaited interview. Oh, God, I can't. We'll get into it. But this is Blue Tiger Revenge Podcast. I am comic book creator Tag Galusha, and with me is the man you love to hate, the man behind the mic, Mr. Baseball himself.
Oh, God.
Big Brian Bales. How's it going, Big Brian?
It's going great, man. How are you?
I'm good. And with us is concept artist, comic book artist, a dinosaur aficionado. It looks like possibly rocker. Artist Greg Broadmore. And I should probably say writer too at this point, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hey, everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. How's it going?
I just generalized to artist. I think it's the easiest sort of catch-all.
Yeah.
I've changed like things that I do so many times. I've directed games, written, make art, concept art, sculpting. So and I keep on shifting around, but so artist is just a nice sort of catch-all.
I like it.
And for some of our viewers who may not be aware, but you're coming, I think you're our farthest away guest we've had.
Yes.
You're all the way out in New Zealand.
Yeah, that's right. And you're in Alaska, so that really is like diagonally across the map.
Yeah, all over the place. We are truly worldwide at Blue Tiger.
Yeah, international. Look at us.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the reason why you fell on our radar is about a year ago. I saw you. I think it was. I don't know if it was the cover or it was some art, but I came across One Path, and I remember I was just. I see these amazing dinosaur paintings, and I'm trying to figure out like what is this? Where is this coming? And then a few months later, it seems like Mad Cave announces like, oh yeah, we're publishing this, and that's when I was like, oh yeah, we got to get this guy. We got to get Greg on the podcast.
You have been talking about this for a long time. Time. Yeah.
Weekly discussion, probably.
For sure.
I'm so glad to hear that. That makes me feel good.
Yeah.
I'm in my little bubble doing my thing. I have no idea who's paying attention, if anyone. So that's
we're here. We're here. We're paying attention. I'm on it.
And by the time this episode comes out, One Path will have dropped. So congratulations on that, man. That's awesome.
Fantastic. Actually, you know what? I'm not sure of your timing, but I think it's just been pushed back just a little bit. April 30th. It was going to be April 8th, I think. Now it's April the 30th.
Okay.
So I'm not sure when your podcast comes out.
But, this will be out.
Yeah, and that's my fault. Apparently, I asked the publisher, Chris, to send me proofs. And now these days, when I started making comics, you've always got physical proofs, but these days it's always digital proofs. And I don't really know what you're supposed to do with digital proofs, right?
Right.
I guess you can check that everything's in the right place, but you don't really know how it's going to look. But Mad Cave and Chris were really accommodating and sent me physical proofs twice.
Oh, wow.
So I held up the process because the first book came through and it looked good, but it's like, it can definitely look better. Right, it was a little dark and the colors weren't quite as punchy, and so they accommodated me, and we did another round. So that has made it look even better, but unfortunately, it's delayed it by about 2 weeks. So
okay,
it's
that's
fine.
All right. Well, this will be out before you before it hits shelves. So hopefully, we can get more people excited about it.
There's nothing wrong with a little bit of delay because it just, it's just putting the icing on the cake, just making sure everything's just perfect.
That's right.
Just perfect. You were gracious enough to send us an advanced reader, and we were able to check it out, which, did I read it twice? Possibly. Did I also pre-order it the day you posted on Facebook that the pre-orders were available? Yes, I did. So thank you for that. And I have to say, because we don't want to spoil it too much, right? But I gotta say, it was fucking awesome, man. It was awesome. It was so refreshing. Brian and I have been talking about it all morning. Some of the well, first of all, we should probably break it down a little bit, like what it's about. I will let you take the helm, please.
Thank you. Explaining it, this is one of those things. I know a lot of people are really good at selling the elevator pitch of their work, what it is. I'm really not. I'm
Same.
so bad at it.
Terrible.
Right? Yeah, right. It's such an art form, and I think there are a bunch of people who are really good at it. They get that clean thing of being able to distill it down to its essence, and I really struggle. So what is it? It's I'd say it's the culmination of a lot of a lifelong passion for dinosaurs and wanting to do something meaningful there. But and so it started actually very simply. I had this idea of like cave girls. In fact, that was the original name of the book, and that's probably what it would be called in Europe. I just had this idea of this vision, and I started drawing these sketches of these cave women, but not sort of the heroic, ass-kicking, back-flipping heroines, right, in modern films, which I think is kind of this trite meme now.
Mhm.
Yeah.
No one really buys it. So, but I had this. I wanted something more gritty and more interesting, and these feral humans living on the edge of existence. I just had that vision. And so when COVID came along and I was suddenly at home, One Path was the project I jumped onto. I decided I'm going to do this dinosaur project I've been wanting to do for years, and and but it started like I said, as this very simple idea: these feral women living on the edge of life and death. Maybe there'll be dinosaurs, maybe there'll be this and that,
Yeah.
and then it sort of blossomed into this full story of a character called One Path, and about living on the edge of survival. And because I'd set it up, there's only women in this story. Because I'd set it up that way, the themes rolled out of it were all about technology change, not technology in some modern sense of the word, technology in the actual true sense of the word, right?
Yeah.
Like farming is technology, so if you
Right.
think in that context,
Yeah.
not that there's farming in the book, but when basically change comes along to a group of people who are holding on to life by their fingernails, how little changes can cause massive ripples. And so it's really about this tribe of cave women who are set upon by dinosaurs in their environment. Like the T-Rexes in their land are basically like the mafia bosses that own the land,
Yeah.
Like that.
and make them pay a toll. And they live under that claw, right? Just
Right.
barely surviving. And then one day, a character, One Path, just has a plan to basically overturn that. But if they can take control of the situation, then they can take control of their lives. But that upsets everything and tips everything upside down. And through the course of the rest of the journey, you find out how they even exist in the first place.
Which was
So that is
awesome.
a long, rambling elevator pitch, right?
No, no.
I love it.
I basically tell you, at first I was a little boy.
Yeah. I love though that
I have
you
to go right back to explain anything.
I love that you hit at some of these aspects, especially like technology, right? Because that was one of the things I took away right away when I was reading it. I was like, oh, we have this one we have One Path is this kind of like, I guess, out of the box thinker of the group, but she, without giving anything away, but she essentially like advocates for domestication. That like is a complete game changer. And like you said, there's certain members of the tribe look at it as a problem, and others embrace it. And it was great. Yeah, it was really great. We were like, I love that you kept the characters all very like visceral and natural, and you could really see the hardships of their day-to-day existence, like on them just existing. I don't know. It was awesome.
Thanks,
Yeah,
man.
I love
It's
it.
a brutal world, right? And in
Yeah.
a world that rough, and there are still conditions like this on the planet today,
Yeah.
where the world is that brutal, survival is that rough, that people just cling to whatever rules worked, right? Even if those rules are like a sort of vestigial, like you come up with a rule and you survive, and so you keep the rule going, even if that rule actually didn't really help you.
Right.
People just cling. That's just how sort of religious thinking is formed, right? You just get dogmatic and you just do this one thing, and we don't change the formula because this works, right? And you can see that still around the world to this day. And so, and then when someone comes along with an idea that overturns it, whether it's a technology or just a way of thinking or an approach, it can make people's lives better, but it can also upset the delicate balance that they had, and that's the tension. I think that tension just goes on through life forever.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny that because I literally like, I don't know, yesterday morning I was reading this article about, it's like an anthropological study, and they were talking about how like primitive like groups of people, right? They'll have certain like, hey, you don't eat this plant. And then when you ask them why, they'll have some kind of like mythos behind it. But the reality is the plant's actually really poisonous. So that means that somebody generations back ate it, died, and then,
Right.
like you said, there's this like, oh no, we don't eat this because of this, this, and this. There's like a story that evolves behind it. It's fascinating. I guess it says more about us as people, and
Yeah.
our aspects, our capacity for storytelling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, totally. I find that stuff fascinating. There's so
Yeah.
many aspects because we can look back in the past and see how most of our thinking was that way. It's very empirical. Like something happens, Jeff dies, and so we don't eat that thing that he did. But then you invent this whole mythos behind the explanation. Why
Right.
did he die? And you don't have any grounds for what that is, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't
Exactly.
know. So you just invent this whole story, and that builds and builds and builds, and you get all these layers. And you think, oh, that was quaint. That was in the past. But
Yeah.
it's like, no, that's all around us still. There are still scientific thinkers who think, truly in terms of better and better explanations.
Right.
But there are still some people who just want to build on top of the myths,
mhm.
Yeah.
right? And there's always, and it's not like that all the myths are the kernel that's underneath them is wrong. There could be truth behind, there's practicality underneath some of those things. And so
Definitely.
it is like a massive house of cards. You've got to be really freaking careful how you play with it. The tension is real. I'm not even advocating for one thing or the other in a way. I'm just saying that this thing is, you got on this giant, house of cards, bamboo scaffold. You need to be careful which bits you untie,
Yeah.
Right. Right.
One of the things that I really appreciated about the art and about the style is one, like it was beautifully painted and well done, but also like just the choice to, and you mentioned this a little bit earlier, just the choice to not like make everything, for lack of a better term, like jungle babes, right?
Mhm.
Out in the wild doing their thing. You made it very visceral, very like ugly in a way.
Mhm.
What was kind of your thought process around that, and bringing that to life? Did you ever get like pushback because of that? Because it's not typically something you see in like in mainstream books.
Yeah, yeah. There's plenty of the beautiful stuff out there, so I don't feel like I need to add any more to that. And I do like that. I have like a soft spot for like sort of pulpy,
Mhm. Same.
really hyper masculine and hyper feminine realizations of things in that art. I love a lot of that stuff, and but I don't. I just didn't feel the need to add to that. It's kind of it's its own thing, but and part of it is I'm a bit punk rock and a bit contrarian, and I like I don't want to play to those stereotypes. In fact, the stereotype that annoys me is the kind of, I don't know, the ass kicking, backflipping, empowered girl. That's like it's kind of it's honestly a bit crazy, and that sounds very strange because one path is all about women that are fucking incredibly powerful
Yep.
and trying to dominate the world around them. So I know that sounds weird. There's a tension in there. I think if you read the book, you'll understand it better. But I didn't want to play into this kind of, I don't know, idealized superheroine kind of thing.
Right.
I don't find that super interesting. I think maybe it's just because it's been done to death, and I don't think there's anything more in it that I can add. Um, and also, I find the idea of really broken characters interesting. The previous books I've done, or some of them were called Dr. Broadboards, which is a science fiction world, and it's actually more of a satire and a parody. And it has a character there, a great white hunter called Lord Coxswain, and he's not the perfect character either. He's a giant moron, right, going around the world, just pure id, pure ego, and he's both lovable and despicable, right? And
Yeah.
and I love both parts of it. He's because he's so fearless and so lacks self awareness. It's very empowering. I love it, but he's also, you can totally laugh at him and think what a retard he is, and that's correct. That's fine. That's good. I like that. I find that interesting. I grew up with Judge Dredd,
Yeah.
the
Oh,
British comic series, right?
yeah. Big
And
Dread guy.
and Judge Dredd, right, is really interesting because that set my norm for what a sort of, it's not superhero, but that, obviously there's a superhero type of character. He's big, he's macho,
Yeah.
he's in the costume, but then what's different about him? If you read those comics for any length of time, you realize, oh, this guy's a fascist, right?
Yeah. Straight
Oh
up.
yeah.
Straight up fascist.
And actually, he's not even a fascist. He's a tool of fascists.
Yeah.
He's a tool of a fascist system,
Yeah.
right? And when you read these comics, you kind of want to be him and despise him at the same time.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that's interesting. I find that
Yeah.
that tension interesting. I think there's lots of cool avenues in that. So I found that to me was like a satirical comment, or maybe satire is not the right word, but it's like a comment in society uh, in its day. And actually, you know what? There's a lot of that. It's like Judge Dredd came from Clint Eastwood, Dirty Harry, right?
Right.
There's another kind of
Mhm.
that kind of 70s and 60s vibe with Taxi Driver, where the protagonist is much more complicated, and maybe they're broken, maybe they're wrong, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I find that really fascinating. And so these characters in the world of One Path are much more of that vibe.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't even know throughout the story, I'm not sure whose side I'm on half the time. I don't know which is the right
I
perspective even.
I know what side I'm on.
Okay,
And this,
good.
I'm going to say it right now, and this is probably controversial, but
Mhm.
I'm Team Albino.
Of course you are.
I'm Team
Always.
Albino.
No
I'm
way.
rooting for him. I'm sorry. I know he's kind of like almost like this godlike villain, but
Huh?
my favorite part of the book, and maybe this just speaks to my personality, I don't know, but I love when I'm not spoiling any deals. I didn't tell you and we're not telling people who Albino is, but when he wakes up and you change because the entire time the book has been from the perspective of we'll just say the I've been calling them
The tribe.
the tribe, the Amazonians. I've been
Yeah.
calling them, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And but we get kind of in the mindset of like, this guy's been around for so long, he's so big that he's cognizant, he's high thinking, which you see in the animal world. Like
Mhm.
here in Alaska, there's certain bears that have been around so long that they've developed these personalities where it's like you watch them operate, you're kind of like, there's some thought going on. There's problem
Yeah,
solving.
yeah.
And I love that you change the perspective and put it in the mindset. So we actually kind of get to hear some of
Yeah.
his like when he encounters a challenger. I thought
Yeah.
that was great. And just the voice that you gave him, it was perfect. It was just great. And yeah,
Oh,
so
thanks.
I know he's kind of the bad guy, maybe, or we'll just say, it's ambiguous. Who's the
Yeah.
bad guy? Who's to say? He's just doing what he does, but he was my favorite.
Yeah.
That was,
Yeah,
he was my
cool.
favorite.
You're any chance you get, you're picking the dino.
I
So
mean,
any chance.
spoiler. Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah.
Yo, way to go, Bri. Oh, yeah. But no, I think that was one of the things I love about it is that the heroism comes from the survival mindset,
Mhm.
the visceral toughness of these characters to survive. That I think is more interesting than just like that. Superman's great, but I find Superman so boring because it's just he's perfect in every way. Like he just shows
Yeah,
up. And
what's
he's like,
interesting, and also, I reckon part of the problem with that is that Superman has been around for so long
yeah,
and iterated upon so many times, and a lot of the territory is covered, right? So it's not that it's not good; it's that you're hearing echoes,
yeah,
right?
Right.
The echoes that you've heard the echoes before. This is a problem kind of in fiction, right?
yeah.
Especially in the more money that goes into fiction, and we're going through a period at the moment where everything's sequels,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
and that's because it's safer bet financially and all that kind of stuff. But you're just hearing a lot of echoes, and I think people do get tired of it. So I totally relate. It's not that those things aren't great. I love those things in their original form, but you hear them a
Sure.
million times, and it's just repetitious. So I'm all for
Yeah.
new stuff, man.
Yeah.
I love new stuff.
Oh, I mean, yeah. Well, you work a lot in film. What do you
Mm.
think? Because if people don't know Tiger Cubs, Greg also is a concept artist for Weta. And
Yeah,
I'm sure you
way to
probably
workshop.
Weta Workshops, yeah. Which is, I mean, it's up there, right? Lord of the
Lord of the Rings.
Rings,
Yeah. Yeah.
King Kong. I mean,
Yeah. District 9, all a bunch of
I,
great stuff.
yeah. I mean, that's. I feel like a whole nother podcast in itself. Is just what you're doing over at. Just to change gears a little. What is that like? How is that working at Weta?
It's great, man. It's a really rare place, very special place. Just to give you a bit of context. So I grew up in New Zealand. When I grew up, it's about 4 million people. In fact, I think when I was really little, it's like 3.5 million people. Now we're maybe 5.5 or 6 or something.
Okay.
It's a tiny country, the bottom of the planet,
Mhm.
right? Not far away from Antarctica.
Wow.
And so when I grew up, there's no film industry, there's no comic book industry,
Yeah.
right? There's nothing like that. So I didn't really know what I was going to do with my life as a creative person. I thought, well, I'll be working at the local paper mill or something like that, or driving a truck. My dad drives trucks.
Okay.
So I thought that's what I'd do. So a place like Weta is like, how did it even happen? And it
Yeah.
really happened because of two people, Peter Jackson and Richard Taylor. Richard Taylor and his partner Tanya, they founded it. But it got supercharged through the agency of Peter Jackson, right, making his films. That's what gave them the opportunities, like the films you talked about. And before that, like The Frighteners and Brain Dead and other films.
Did they
Um,
did did they do work on those too? And like some
Yeah,
okay. Yeah, because I have
yeah,
a buddy I went to art school with. He turned me on to Peter Jackson, but it was like his early like independent
yeah,
films where he was
yeah,
making these rubber like amateurs and stuff like through
yeah,
like
yeah.
he's baking
The
them in his
first one,
oven and stuff. Yeah.
yeah, the first one is called Bad Taste. The first one I
Yeah.
ever saw, and I saw it as a young teenager. Blew my mind. It's
It's
so
crazy.
rough and so rugged, and even then I knew like this is lo-fi and cheap, but it's so creative,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it was so gory and ridiculous. It was perfect. And then they upped the ante later on. I saw Brain Dead, which was the first one where Peter Jackson worked with Richard in the team at Weta.
Okay.
And I think that might have been one of the formative things for Weta. Goes back before my time, but that was just like the production level went up. Still not like AAA, still like
Mhm.
but low budget film, but incredible effects with ridiculous ideas. It's so
Yeah.
good. There's a scene where they're fighting zombies and they use a lawnmower, and that's become a meme now. That lawnmowers in video games, like
Yeah.
Left 4 Dead and so on, right? But yeah, use a lawnmower and like mow over these people. And there's a scene actually where Richard's in the film and he gets his skin pulled off his head, right?
Oh
So
my
it's this
god.
bare flayed corpse underneath.
That's
It's so
crazy.
ridiculous. Anyway, that's like Peter Jackson and his superpowers taking getting these brilliant creatives like Richard and Tanya
Mhm.
involved and then making something special. And out of that blossoms Weta Workshop. And Richard is an amazing entrepreneur who's just continued to grow and sort of diversify the company, doing all the things that interest him.
Wow.
And now it's pretty hard times at the moment. Actually, COVID is still like had a big effect, and the
Mhm.
film industry is going through bad ruction. So the whole the sort of industry that we work in is changeable. But it's an amazing place. It's probably and by the way, out of it grew Weta Digital, which became the digital VFX house that's behind so many big films.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think they just did the Minecraft film, for instance.
Oh my
Oh, yeah.
god.
And
I
Oh.
just saw that. Yeah.
me too. I saw it yesterday with my little 8-year-old boy.
I saw
It's
it with my
amazing. I
10-year-old.
loved
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So it's good. It's
So
worth
much
checking
fun.
it. It's worth
It was
checking out.
fun.
Okay.
It's super fun. It's super obvious. Like it doesn't try to be clever.
Yeah.
It's like this is Minecraft. If you like Minecraft and all the things that make Minecraft, it's just going to tell you what they are
Yeah.
and
Okay.
revel in them.
It
It's
would
super straightforward in that way, and I love it. And it's got this
essentially.
really overt moral,
Yep.
like telling you why the creativity is the right way
Yep.
and positive creativity. It's like it just tells you it's not trying to be fancy.
Yeah.
It's like I loved it, and I love the way it looks too. Anyway,
It looked
total diversion.
fantastic. It looked fantastic, and it was essentially like, "Hey, Jack Black, go nuts." That's
Yeah.
I'm
essentially
in.
like
I'm in.
that was the
Jack
script.
Black is not even a character. He's basically a narrator of what's going to happen
Yes,
next.
100%. Yeah.
That's basically what he does.
That's
And I
awesome.
love it. Yeah. And he's fucking funny.
Yep.
Jason Momoa is funny as shit in there.
He was very funny. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like he's a guy that he gets kind of typecast doing so many action movies, but I really feel like he's kind of like Jason Statham. He's low key like a really
Yeah.
funny guy. Like he
Yeah.
needs to
Yeah,
be
yeah.
in some like humorous movies, like
Dude, go watch Minecraft. He's funny as hell.
He is
okay,
very
I'll check
funny.
it out.
He might be the star as far as the comedy goes.
Yeah.
Wow. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. He's really
Yeah.
ridiculous.
So how did
He's the fall guy. He's the like I say, Jack Black is basically a narrator almost. He's just telling you what's happening. He's the exposition guy. Now we're going to go do this. Now we're going to go do that.
Yep.
He's funny and charismatic, but he's literally like just telling you. Whereas Jason Momoa is this kind of conflicted character. He's a loser who thinks he's a hero that has to redeem himself. So he's actually the guy
nice.
on the arc.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah, it's cool.
So,
Anyway,
how did you get? How did
Weta
you?
Workshop.
Yeah. How did you get
Cool story.
involved with
Weta
Weta?
Workshop is rad. It's a great place to work.
Yeah.
And I started there around, what was it, 2012 or something? No, not 2012, 2002. Fucking hell.
Oh.
Okay.
Um,
So
yeah, I started as a concept artist, although I did some weird odds and sods kind of jobs when I first started there. But that culminated in working on, so I worked on King Kong, I worked on the Narnia films.
oh wow.
And then the sort of the highlight for me, this is a long time ago now because I kind of diverted after this, but my highlight for me was District 9. I got to meet Neil Blomkamp and help him make that film. That was like
Wow.
It's an
that's
amazing
a
movie.
huge film for me. Yeah,
Yeah.
massively. I loved
Yeah.
it. But from that point on, I sort of tended to try and focus more on my own projects, and because Richard is such a visionary entrepreneur and is so open to creativity, he let me chase some of my ideas. Like we started the world of Dr. Grubwitz through Weta.
Oh, okay.
Excuse me. And so that started as a series of ray gun collectibles that we made through Weta's Collectible company, and then it turned into books that I published, the various Dr. Grillboots books, and then ended up as an exhibition that traveled the world, as a series of video games that I ended up directing for the Magic Leap, for this
What?
Whoa.
spatial computing headset.
Dude.
And we built a video game studio out of it. So it was just and even now it's still going. We've got some friends in the States who just made a role-playing game based on it, like a Dungeons and Dragons is it called fourth edition?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can get like a Dungeons and Dragons role-playing game based on Dr. Grillboots. And then there's just some guys in Germany have just made a VR game. Anyway, like we through that relationship, I've just been able to do more and more of my own stuff. And so now I still work there. I don't tend to work on concept art for films very much anymore, a little bit. And I still love that. And Weta Workshop still does that. But I tend to focus, I've split my time between working on one path, because I'm just absolutely obsessed by it.
Yeah.
And then the other part of my day, or the other part of my week, is spent working for Weta Workshop. And that's really whatever Richard will throw at me, which tends to be all over the place.
One of the things that I noticed, because it's just gorgeous, man, every panel is like a painting, and like some of your color choices, like I'm a line art guy. That's like what I do primarily. So I'm always just vastly impressed, and like the color choices that you picked to really kind of like enhance the experience that the characters were going through, like their mindset and stuff. I don't know. It was just so. How long does it take you to do a page of One Path? Because I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot, especially just like each page being a painting.
Well, it takes me about. My target is 2 days for a page.
Okay.
From pencils through to completion.
Okay.
Wow.
That's my target. But to be honest, I've been going faster than that lately. I've been going at about 1.5 days.
That's good.
Although actually just coming off of a crappy cold, and for the 2 weeks that I had the cold, I was going actually at about it took me about 3 days to do a page. But luckily I've been going really fast for a long time. Most of that book, most of the first book, probably about a day and a half to 2 days for a page.
Wow. That's really impressive, man.
So you're working on book 2 right now of One Path.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Yeah. There's actually going to be 4 books altogether.
Okay.
Whoa.
Yeah. I'm almost finished the second book, actually. Almost.
Oh,
I've got another month and a half of artwork, and then doing the lettering and everything.
Is that going to be for Mad Cave as well? They're going to.
If the first one does well and they like it, then yeah.
That's how it goes
that
usually.
Won't be
right?
till next year. That won't be.
Okay.
I think there'll be yearly releases, basically. So.
Oh, that's awesome.
Shouldn't even talk about the second book when it's basically still a year away.
It's fine. Nobody's listening. It's fine. So I guess my next question is, what got you like so into dinosaurs, man? Like, because when I was reading the book, I could obviously tell it's like, oh, this is a guy that pays attention to dinosaur anatomy. Nothing bothered. Like when I did my dinosaur book years ago, like it was one of those things where I thought I was good at dinosaur anatomy, but then as I got further in the project, I was like, okay, now I'm actually starting to understand it, And when I was reading your book, it was one of those where it was like, oh, this guy knows what he's doing. This guy knows how to understands how they move. He understands the shape of like a T-Rex skull. Like everybody always does it, like flat, right? They understand that it's very wide. It's a very wide skull with a narrow,
wide at the back, especially. Yeah, and then narrows down to that snout.
You should literally hear this guy. Anytime there's some sort of dinosaur that comes out, he'll send it to me and be like, "This is dog shit," and just go off about how it's not.
Did you notice that back in the day, like when the really early dinosaur art, back in like Arthur Conan Doyle and Willis O'Brien, the dinosaurs had really wide frog-like heads.
Yeah. I was just looking at was it Harryhausen who did Valley of Gwangi? And
I love Gwangi.
Right? It's such a good movie. Brian's over there like, what the fuck is that?
That's all right.
Dude, go and watch it. It's great. The animation is unbelievable.
Awesome. Yeah, cowboys versus dinosaurs. You can't beat it. Yeah. But yeah, the head was really wide. And then for some reason, I feel like in the 80s and 90s, I mean, outside of Jurassic Park, they got real narrow. Like there's almost like they were
Yeah.
compressing the bodies. I don't know.
Well, I think it was like some overcompensation, right? They were really wide, probably because most dinosaurs were drawn in, but probably because all the artists would have seen a skull like this, right? They've
Yeah.
seen it in profile, and it would have been a drawing. It wouldn't have even been a photograph, and they wouldn't have
True.
known to walk around. Because if you walk around in front of this, it's a bit big to turn around, but it is actually for an Albertosaurus
Yeah.
really quite narrow, right?
Yeah.
T-Rex flares out a lot more here. But
Yeah,
I think it was maybe an overcompensation. We're getting very nerdy here.
I love it.
It's fine.
Dinosaur skulls.
Dude, it's fine.
Yeah, man, I pay attention to all that stuff too. But I've learned, just like you had a massive learning experience while you were doing your book. I'm like the same. You know, I'm deep into the second book and been drawing dinosaurs all my life, and I keep on looking back at the previous work and going, "Oh, I got that completely wrong," and see how I'm getting better.
Yeah.
But that said, I don't. I'm not trying to make my dinosaurs real, like paleontologically real. I don't chase that. I do love them to feel authentically real in like what's the right way of putting it? Is if you just that you can believe them, that you feel that they're a real animal, that you can feel threatened by them, and you feel that they're tangible and they're not just a monster. I'm after that quality, but I'm not trying to make them paleontologically accurate. I have a certain bunch of things I like that I wanted to imbue my dinosaurs with. So I don't pretend that they're a certain species. In fact, I never name what the species is. I let you read into it.
I like that.
The nomenclature, if you were to read the script, you'd see I'd call out the species name, but it's not important for the story. And in fact, to me, it's just a shorthand. I call a dinosaur a T-Rex, regardless of whether it would actually be a completely different species and so on.
Yeah.
But so I have certain little idiosyncrasies that about the way I draw dinosaurs that I really lean into that I know probably aren't true.
Sure.
If you were to be scientifically accurate.
Yeah.
So, but that doesn't bother me. I'm trying to make and it's like I say, it's because I want them to feel like a real animal that I'm not chasing some external metric of what they're like. I'm chasing what I think is interesting and real about them. And also, at the same time as them being real for the book, they're like a metaphor. They are a metaphor. Like the albino is a metaphor for a force in nature and a force in life, right? And so I don't want it to be too real, like a real animal in that sense, because then it would break away from what it sort of archetypically means. So there's a tension there between, got to feel like it's really there and threatening, and also like it represents something in a kind of mythical way or an archetypical way. So, but man, I'm constantly learning and changing, and my love of dinosaurs came probably from. I don't know. I think there's just something, you know this. As a young boy, you just love dinosaurs.
They're the best.
Yeah, they're the best. I don't know what it is. It's I think it's all connected to like, why do we love Darth Vader, right? Like, right? He's Darth Vader on a fucking t-shirt when you're 7 years old.
Yeah, he's a mass murderer.
Blew up a planet.
Like,
The guy's committing galactic genocide, and we're like, wow, he's cool.
Yeah. Someone's going to make a movie one day or of Genghis Khan, or however you say it, right? And people will fucking really dig it because we are fucking weird, us humans. We revile him, and yet we're like, that dude is fucking boss.
Right? Well, it's what is that saying? Like, what is it? I can't remember who coined it, but it's something like, you kill a few hundred, you're a mass murderer. You kill a few million, you're a conquering hero. Something like that. Yeah. So. Yeah.
But the dinosaurs have something about that. They don't care about morals, right? They're just like, specifically T-Rex, right? And those big beasts like that. There's something very pure about them, right?
Yeah.
And you relate to it, I relate to it, and I love it. And then there's all the nerdy shit, like what were they really like?
Right.
And their physiology, and can you portray them this way and that? There's sort of endless creativity in there and how you interpret them as well. But for me, inspirations wise, I have a lot of inspirations. But do you guys know the artist Zdeněk Burian? In fact, I don't even know if I'm saying his first name, but Burian is his surname.
No.
Burian. I think he's a Polish artist.
Okay.
And his work would have been in the 30s and 40s, maybe, and 50s.
Okay.
Did a bunch of dinosaur books. Dude, his artwork was a massive inspiration on me. They're all beautiful paintings, oil paintings and watercolors.
Yeah.
And they're in that weird hybrid between them. A lot of them are still tail draggers, and the heads are quite wide, but they are beautiful.
Okay.
And that's a massive inspiration. And then later on, I got me and my mate got really into dinosaurs, and we discovered Gregory S. Paul. He's an American artist. I think he's American. You know him?
Yeah. Didn't he work on Oh, the Princeton books. Didn't he do all the Princeton books?
Yes.
Yeah. I
Yeah, yeah,
have
yeah. So
I have like all of them.
and yeah, right. And he's probably responsible for Dinosaur Head suddenly getting very narrow because a lot of artists saw him and realized, oh, he's drawing them much more faithfully to the skull shapes.
Yeah.
And what he did was very minimalist, right? He would strip away. He
Mm.
wasn't trying to say anything more about the dinosaurs than it was absolutely necessary. So that's
Yeah.
kind of a reductive way of approaching it, which I think is kind of good, but it's not very speculative. It's just like I'm not gonna add extra features, extra fat, extra tissue. I'm just
Right.
gonna come down to the basics of what I definitely think I know. And I don't even know if that's the right way, but it's quite an honest way of approaching it.
Yeah.
And anyway, that leaves you with these very streamlined, very thin dinosaurs, but you could see all the musculature, and that led to a wave of dinosaur art where they were very gaunt. And I love that though, because right,
Yeah.
Bruce Lee, Arnold Schwarzenegger, suddenly the
Yeah.
dinosaurs are muscular.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm into that.
Like right now,
Cool.
I want to say they're like they're really all about like the weight, especially like how
Yeah,
much
yeah.
weight did they carry? Are you?
By the way, I love the. Sorry to
Oh
interrupt. I
no,
love the
fine.
new version of T Rex. People
Oh,
are doing a bunch of realizations where much more heavy set and thick.
just big dog.
I actually quite dig it.
Yeah, me too.
It looks powerful.
Yeah, I'd
Yeah,
say it looks. I think it's more formidable than it's ever been, and
yeah.
yeah. Are you familiar with Douglas Henderson? He was big in
Yes.
the
Oh,
'80s.
I have some of his prints upstairs,
Ah,
and I have a bunch of his art books.
yeah.
Douglas Henderson is amazing.
He was that guy where like I remember as a kid in like the probably late '80s, early '90s when I first saw his stuff, and I was like, whoa, like you can make dinosaurs look like you said earlier, animals, like real
Yeah.
animals inhabit where like or just change the whole concept of them like being
Hmm.
like monsters. We're like, I think I was where it first clicked it, like, oh no, these were animals that inhabited the world and had
Yeah.
lives and purposes and things like that. I don't
Part
know.
of that, I reckon, is his way he would frame the illustrations. It's almost like someone at a distance with a long lens zooming in through
Yeah.
the foliage and then framing it just beautifully, just perfectly through a fallen tree. The light and the way he would do light, like lights falling
Oh,
on some animals, and then the ones that are not in the light are standing out in silhouette against them, and so on. He's an absolute master in a
he.
different way too, right? Like
Oh yeah.
not many people can replicate that.
No, and
He's
I know
incredible.
he's like kind of semi-retired, but he's been doing these ballpoint pen drawings just on
Oh yeah.
like printer paper, and
Oh
he puts
yeah.
them on eBay for like $100 a pop or something like that. And but it's even his ballpoint pens. He still captures like it looks like you said like it's like a
Yeah.
wildlife photography or something like that. Like it's I don't know. I always am like I gotta wake up at some point and like get on these eBays because they only last like 10 minutes and they go quick.
Yeah,
People
yeah, yeah, yeah.
snag
They're
them.
probably worth so much more. Like
Oh
I don't.
yeah, even just
Yeah,
that
man. If you can get
ballpoint.
your hands on one of those, I've got
Yeah.
some prints upstairs, a little
Yeah.
series of them, and I love them. I look at them every morning.
Oh yeah,
Nice.
dude. Yeah, I think he's still selling prints. I should get on those. I should get on his prints. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. I feel like we're clicking, we're vibing
Yeah.
on a lot of the same energy here, man. Like I don't know.
And
Like
I'm just sitting here like, nice, cool.
well, I've worked in the comic industry probably like almost 15 years
Yeah.
now, and you don't meet a lot of guys that are into the same stuff. There's a few of us, so
Yeah.
it's always kind of nice to run into a fellow I don't know dinosaur nut job like
Yeah. I got a bunch of friends who are into it. It's like one of those things when you're a kid. It's like the cliche that every kid loves dinosaurs,
For sure.
Yeah.
and some of us just keep on loving them, and
Yeah.
won't give up. And
And then you become the weird
and
adult
it's-
guy that's like, well, actually,
Yeah.
they think the T-Rex now weighed like maybe 12 tons. Think about that. And they're like, that's
Yeah.
cool, man. Like, what are you talking about? Like, they want to talk about Daredevil or something. And I'm like, yeah, that's great. Did you hear
Yeah.
about this new skeleton they found?
Yeah, yeah.
Literally
I
our
love that shit.
conversations.
Yeah. Do not to change gears at all, but I mean, uh, do you were you influenced at all by any of the traditional superhero? Like I grew up on like Captain America and
Mhm.
Yeah.
and Wolverine and stuff. Was any of that like a influence? Because I feel like the superhero genre, it's hard to not somehow
Yeah.
become interested in
Uh,
it just a little bit.
I was influenced by it, but not as to a certain point. I can tell you, like where I grew up in a really small town,
Mhm.
Okay.
and there was like only a couple stores that would sell comic books, and I couldn't afford any of it anyway.
Yeah.
There was no comic book shop. There's like magazine shops. If you're going through the
Oh.
magazine shop, it's all the women's magazines and
Mhm.
and then like there's one comic book, right?
Yeah.
But I couldn't afford any of that. So but my granddad worked at the pulp and paper mill.
Mm.
And right, the way magazines work is when if a shop couldn't sell, when whatever they couldn't sell, they tear off the cover goes back to the distributor, and they get a slight rebate on it or something like that.
Oh
And the
yeah,
paper,
that's
and
right. I
because
forgot about
right,
that.
because I guess you don't want to send back the whole magazine because the magazine's just going to be it's too heavy to ship, right?
Right.
So they just send that to the paper mill, and so my granddad would grab me clutches of comic books and magazines and bring them back. I'd get them without the covers.
Oh, cool.
And that's how I discovered heaps of comic books. And so I got like Batman, Spider-Man,
Wow.
and a bunch of others. And I liked them. I did like them, but I wouldn't be able to read them in any kind of sequence. Or would get like a random comic and then like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I remember really liking Batman. But I would read just about anything. I've got Archie comics and Mad Magazine. That was the thing that really blew my mind when I got it.
Yeah.
And so it was a random selection of things. I remember this is influential, and I got a X-Men thing. And in fact, I didn't even know it was X-Men because the cover's gone. But it was like all diagrams of each X-Men as if it was like showing how they worked. Like, this is how Wolverine's skeleton,
cool.
his blades work and everything, how they fit into his body. This is when I was really young, and I was like, that's cool, man. Like taking it seriously, taking the fiction seriously and analyzing it.
Yeah.
And that sort of idea ended up later on in my Dr. Broadport's books, where there are like partially comic book stories, but also sort of little deep dives into how things are actually made, putting them in context to the world as opposed to just a matter of a story.
Yeah.
So I loved a lot of that stuff. But because I'm in New Zealand, which has much closer cultural ties to Australia, and then the UK, we would get tons of that stuff. So I would get Judge Dredd, and so there was just more of that stuff around.
Yeah.
And when I found Judge Dredd, that was like the thing for me, I think, in 2000 AD. I really, really liked that.
Mhm.
And I just couldn't find American comics half the time.
Sure. That makes sense.
Yeah. Although the American comic that really hit me is Mad Magazine.
Mad Magazine. Okay.
And a bunch of those related magazines like Cracked and stuff like that.
I forgot about Cracked. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. The Mad's competitor. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I love that. I'd go to the when I was a bit older and had a little bit of money, go to the secondhand bookshop and just buy issues of Cracked and Mad Magazine and so on.
Oh, cool.
And the artwork in those is like, to this day, the stuff from the 70s and 80s is unbelievable.
Yeah, especially when you're getting like some of that Jack Davis stuff. I mean, that was that's awesome. I always wondered, especially about the Australia, New Zealand comic scene. How was Tank Girl ever big down there? Did that ever blow up? Because it was supposed to take place in like apocalyptic Australia. You know what I mean?
Yeah, a guy, a New Zealand, well, not New Zealand artist, actually a British guy, but he lived in New Zealand for a while. Rufus Dayglow was his name. He did some work on that.
Okay.
I met him years. He's a sort of friend of friends. So I think that was pretty big, and they made a movie of it, eh?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I don't know how well the movie did, but I know that it's become like kind of like a cult classic because it's so weird and out there.
Yeah,
I love at iconic level the character, and it's got that eclectic kind of mashup kind of vibe going on, right? Where lots of cultures are mashed together.
Yeah,
I think it's cool.
Yeah. And it was always one of my favorites. I just always wondered, like, I wonder how this ever did, over there. Because you just here in the States, you're just kind of isolated. We'd get the movie and all that kind of stuff, and I don't know. It's all we always get like re-releases.
Maybe it was published in 2000 AD. I can't remember if it was or if it was his own separate thing.
I think so. I think by the time it came here, I think Titan was republishing it, and then I know IDW had it for a little while, like in the early 2000s. But yeah, I have no idea. I don't. I'm so bad about remembering.
I'll tell you the other comics that I grew up with. Actually, a bit later in my life, when I was probably like about 13, 14, a family friend gave me a massive stack of heavy metal.
Oh, hell
yeah.
Right?
We're talking about. And that, again, that was one of those things that blew my mind because it's like you open it up and every panel is a painting. And that stuck in my head. That's why I illustrate comics the way I do. That and Simon Bisley. It's like, well, that's European comics Simon Bisley.
The Biz.
And then all the influence that Simon Bisley had on British comics after that. It's like, well, that looks like the way to make comics to me. I didn't realize how hard it would be to do it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, I should throw one other artist in there. I became friends with a guy called Martin Emond, who sadly passed away many years back now. But he was an incredible New Zealand artist that did a series called White Trash.
Okay.
funny.
That
Dude,
sounds
check
good.
it out.
Yeah.
It's great. It's just about a young sort of Elvis Presley type character who might
Mhm.
literally be Elvis Presley. I'm not sure. And then
Okay.
a character who thinks they are Axl Rose, or maybe they are Axl Rose. I'm not fucking sure. I can't remember. And they're going on a road trip through Vegas, just causing
What?
fucking mayhem.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm in.
it's
Yeah.
really good, and the artwork is unbelievable. When I saw that, that was a bit of for me a bit of a realization of like when I first saw Bisley, I was like, "Holy hell! Like, how is that possible to do every panel like a painting?"
Yeah.
Right? And I just didn't understand how it could be done. And then I saw Martin Emmons' work a few years later and realized the same thing. But then I realized, oh, he's from New Zealand. And then I was lucky enough to meet him. So he was a local
Wow.
legend.
Yeah.
Lucky enough to meet him. And then I asked him actually, dude, how long did it take you to do one of those pages? And he said 2 days. And so
Okay.
that's probably why I have the 2-day metric. I'm like, okay, 2 days.
Mhm.
There we
Can't
go.
be more than 2 days. It's
Is
to
it
do that much.
is there a pretty decent comic scene there in New Zealand?
I don't know, man. First of all, I should say I've no idea because I'm in a fucking bubble. I'm a little
That's true.
hermit that does my own thing.
Yeah.
Especially at the moment, like I'm my own little silo, living in my own world, making this crazy dinosaur world come to life,
That's
and
awesome.
I fucking love it.
Yeah.
And I only
it's a
pop my
dream.
head out of my bubble every now and then to
Yeah.
to see the rest of the world. But I would say we still have a comic shop. So here in Wellington, we still have one major comic shop, which is
Okay.
great. I think there used to, when I first moved to Wellington, there was probably two. So that shows you that it's not quite all it was, but there is still comic shops, which
Okay.
is fucking great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, man. I don't know. Like I know there are tons of artists, right? There are
Mhm.
this ton. Well, because of Weta Workshop, I would argue, and it creating a place for artists in New Zealand. Because
Yeah.
before, if you wanted to be an artist in New Zealand, you had no career. What you were going to do with your
Yeah.
artistic talent, good luck. I don't know. Like I didn't have a plan, but Weta Workshop created an avenue for artists, right?
Yeah.
And so I think because of that, and because it popularized our work around the world, you got tons of artists coming up in Wellington.
Yeah.
Wow.
So hopefully that means you got tons of people who have the abilities to make comics and make graphic novels and so on.
So what I'm hearing, if I move to New Zealand, I need to come to Wellington. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, for sure. There's also I have a friend down south who he doesn't live in Wellington at the moment. It's called Ben Stenbeck, and he just did a book called Our Bones Dust for
Okay.
Image, which is fantastic.
Oh, I know who he is. I know Ben. Yeah, I never met him, but I know of him. Yeah.
He does work for Mike Mignola and has
Okay.
a rare guy with that style that can kind of sit alongside Mike's.
Yeah, he's done a bunch of Dark Horse books. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Anyway, so yes, there are great comic book artists from New Zealand.
Okay.
Probably not that many of us, because it's like I said, it's still a small place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you got to really love it if you're here. It's like I said, there's no infrastructure, no native. Anyone who does comics here is doing it purely out of love, right?
Yeah.
That's the number one motivation. It's not like, oh, this could be a job. If
Right.
you're going to make it a job, it's because you really care about it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of in the same boat being in Alaska. I mean, we are, even though we are part of the US, obviously, but we are an island unto ourselves. You know, we don't even have a million people in the state. And yeah, I mean, you're left to your own device, really. Like, yeah, especially if we get like a big blizzard or something rolls in. Like, all right, survive, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. I didn't realize though that there was such an art scene that has popped up in New Zealand. That's really awesome to hear. All because of Weta Workshops.
I think the latent talent is right. It's here. The latent creativity
Mhm.
is here.
Sure. They just created the avenue. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
It always takes that, right? It always takes someone to be the entrepreneur
Mhm.
to create those opportunities.
Like a catalyst, for the hub, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And comic books themselves are quite sort of entrepreneurial in their own way. They make artists like you have to be very independent and
Mhm.
and do your thing.
Let's be honest.
control your
You gotta
affairs.
be a weirdo. You gotta be a guy who's like, I have to get this idea out of my head.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's going to be financially viable, but it's got to exist.
Yes, man. And that's what's so beautiful about comics, right? If you want to make a video game, you got to go and summon a lot of money. Unless you're like crazy, like Notch level of talent, right? They're very few, far between.
The savants, I call them.
Yeah, there are a
just,
few of those.
Yeah.
Right. But even those guys got to eventually to make their product big, you got to pull in some money from somewhere. But a comic book, man, it's just you and a friend and a pencil and some paper, and you're away.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of the I feel like it's one of the few creative endeavors where you can do it with a skeleton crew,
Mhm.
even or just like how you're doing it now, just one man in it, and you can essentially
Oh,
make this world. You can make this
yeah.
movie on paper if you need to.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I got to credit my other co-creators though. It is. I mean, I'm the one sitting there every day doing it, but I have two co-writers.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Cool.
awesome.
Andy Lanning, who's a comics legend unto himself. He's famous
Yeah.
for doing Guardians of the Galaxy, amongst
Yeah, yeah.
many other things.
Okay.
He's fantastic. He's based in the UK, and I got to know him through when I was working for this Magic Leap company making video games.
Oh, cool.
And another guy, Nick Boshier, who's not really a comics guy at all. I just got to know him randomly. He's a comedian from Australia and a writer and a showrunner. He makes television shows,
Oh, cool.
and he's a fucking funny dude, like out there funny. Like, anyway, he's amazing. I mean, I just became friends with him, and then so in the morning, he's in Australia, so in the morning I'd be calling him and talking about one path, and we're bouncing ideas around. And
Yeah.
in the evening, I'm talking to Andy in the UK,
Oh,
and
wow.
so Nick on the writing side, Nick is kind of like the guy that would help me stew all the ideas together. We'd just be throwing all kinds of stuff around, percolating it. And Andy is the more structural guy of actually like, let's write some little vignettes. Here's how we can take the story and plumb it together.
Oh, wow.
Um, and so yeah, so between all three of us, so it is my story. I have to be straightforward, but
Sure.
without them, it would never have catalyzed into something
And
coherent like it
you
is.
do the lettering yourself too?
No, I got a guy, Robin Smith, to do the lettering, which
Okay.
is introduced to me through Andy. He's based in the UK.
I was gonna say
He's
he does
fantastic.
a yeah he does a really good he does
Yeah.
a really good
Oh,
job
good.
like a good friend of mine is Clayton Coles. He's like one of like the top letterers in the industry, and one of the things we always talk about is like you can always tell the difference between a good letterer and a bad letterer of do they understand page flow or like the art flow.
Mhm.
And like I went Clayton this he him and I went to the same art program, so like he is a learned like storyteller visually, so like he understands like the importance of placing the balloons in the right place and
Mhm.
helping
Yeah,
in
yeah.
helping enhance guiding the eye through the page. And I was just when I was reading I was like, man, it flows really well, like the pages. And even the lettering, like the way that it, you, the different voices that he created through the fonts,
Yeah,
fantastic.
yeah.
It's just
Oh, I'm
fantastic.
glad to hear you
Yeah,
say
I
that,
love it.
man.
Yeah.
Fantastic, 'cause I have done on all my other books, I've done the lettering myself.
Okay.
And like in my previous Dr. Grawbot's books, I did, with the exception of a little bit of layout on one book and the
Yeah.
exception of a few pinups, I did everything. I did,
Oh,
all
wow.
the pencils, all the writing, all the illustration, all the letters, all the typography. And like the first couple of Dr. Grawbot's books are layout heavy. So they're like old catalogs. So I would do all the typesetting and graphic design.
Yeah.
And I'm so I'm used to doing everything myself. And this time
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I'm going to get a letterer to do it
Yeah, yeah.
and save myself that hassle. And I'm so glad I did, because I think when you try and do everything, that's cool. You do get a vision, but I don't probably think as deeply about every one of the disciplines. You
Sure.
know,
Sure.
and so it's pretty cool to get a letterer to come in who knows what they're doing and, like you say, can pick up on that flow and actually amplify it.
Yeah, that's an interesting. Yeah, as like an artist, like because I go in stages. Like I'll go out, get hired for books, or I'll be working on projects where I'm doing everything. But then on occasion, you get teamed up. Like I just landed a new book, and I'm getting to see who the team is, and it's one of those times where it's like they're all like heavy hitters. Where I'm like, oh man, I'm going to be in such good hands. Like there's
Yeah.
it, it's only going to enhance the project. And yeah, it's like what you're saying, like you get so focused, I think, when it's just you on getting the page done and
Mhm.
like telling the story is the best you can. But when you do outsource, and you outsource to people that are like, this is all they do, they are,
Yeah.
they are specialists.
Yeah.
It just like it just levels everything up,
Yeah, because you could never give that level of thought, right? Because you're
nah.
juggling all the things, right? And so you
Yeah.
want someone who really narrowly and deeply cares about some particular thing.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. When you get that, that's
Well,
nice.
it's also knowing like what your strengths and weakness. Like I know that I'm not the best like graphic designer. Like I can do lettering
Mhm.
and I understand flow, but when in terms of like using the balloons and the fonts to create like different voices and stuff, like I'm not the best at that. I just don't have much experience. I've only done it a few
Yeah.
times. So like yeah, like you get like a really good graphic designer, man. They just, I don't know. I gotta say though, did you do the cover? Did you design that cover? Because that is
Yeah.
one of the best covers I've
Yeah,
seen
that
all
covers
year. Like,
killer.
Oh wow.
yeah, like the graphic, like the illustration alone, but the design of it is so eye catching, so eye catching.
Dude,
Yeah,
thank you. I'm glad to
yeah,
hear that, man. Yeah. I actually worked on a number of iterations of it, and I think because I was so critical of it and kept on iterating on it, I think it just got better and better every time.
yeah.
Yeah. So really grateful to hear that, man. That's cool.
Well,
Um,
yeah, no, I
sorry.
struggle. I struggle with the covers because I find myself doing kind of similar layouts, right? Where it's like
Mhm,
you want it to look badass, so it's like the thing straight on, so we can see it.
mhm.
And with your composition for one path, it's straight on, but then you did some design qualities with like the spiral and the colors and stuff that just made it so much more, where I don't know. I just, it was one of those where like, oh, this is a perfect example of a really, really good cover, like a well thought out designed cover. Yeah, and I don't know. I feel like I'm just
Thank you,
like
man. Thank you.
I'm not trying to blow smoke or anything. I'm just like excited about it. Yeah.
I really want to have something that can jump off this. That's the challenge, right? You're in a
Yeah.
sea of really cool
Yeah.
artwork and you're in a
Yeah.
comic book shop, right? And you want it to pop out. You want it to stand out like crazy. So I'm like, what can I do? Can I set each book on fire? Like, what can I do that makes your eye draw in?
Yeah. Well, then you know what you're going to be on the shelf next to. You're going to be, between a Jim Lee and an Adam Hughes. So it's like you got to bring something to the table that's like really, really freaking pops. You
Right.
know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That is the thing, man. And wherever it is, right? If it's on the internet, if it's on Instagram or
Yeah.
something, it's got to jump out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Oh, speaking, I'm glad you said that. Instagram. One of the things I really, and I don't understand why more artists aren't doing this. When you were advertising that the book was getting ready to be released over at Mad Cave, you were doing these little animations. Um,
Oh yeah.
I fucking loved them. I thought they were so. I was like, oh, this is perfect. Like this is like if you're going to. I don't know what you used to do it. I don't know if it was like an AI app or something, but I was like, this is what these tools were meant to do. Like this is what I wanted
Mhm.
to see. It was perfect. Anyways, what was that? How did you do that?
So it would depend. Go back. I tried one. If you was it a couple of years ago now, maybe or maybe less. I can't remember. What is it called? CapCut. I think they
Yeah.
changed the name to
Oh
Shotcut
yeah.
now. CapCut.
Okay.
It's like a Chinese app. So it's yeah, and I found this trick in it, which basically did it analyzes the image and then does a depth map, right?
Yeah.
Stop me if I'm getting too technical, but
No.
it creates some sort of depth map, which would be like a grayscale. It'll do some image analysis, create a grayscale map, and then it'll do some camera move through it, which is basically like transforming all those pixels based on
Hmm.
the height map.
Okay.
That's what it's doing behind the scenes, as far as I know. And it's probably, yes, using AI to understand the image. And it's very hit and miss. Sometimes it'll work and sometimes it'll won't, right? It does
Sure.
what, and I think it probably does much better with photographic imagery because that's what it's probably trained on. But I
Right.
was amazed because it worked with my illustrations 9 times
Yeah.
out of 10. Right. And so but it always does one camera move. So I did a bunch of those and I thought those are cool, man. And then I found another app recently and I forget the name that can animate them. And yeah, man, it's some really hit and miss. Like you've got some apps that just don't know what to do with illustrated images and just sort of make garbage,
Yeah.
and others that really do. Like if you're a comic artist, right, and you have no budget, you can't afford to hire some animation studio or something like that. You would
Already.
love to in the future,
Yeah, or even
but
keyframing a panel would take you like, well, I just lost
dude,
a week of my life.
and I've done that. When back in the days of doing Broadboard, I took my own panels,
Yeah.
sat there for days in Photoshop, slicing them into layer upon
Oh my
layer,
gosh.
and then rearranging them into right. This is backfilling in all the layers,
Oh,
and then I would go into After Effects and set them up as a 3D scene and make a sort of camera move and then animate various parts. It took me weeks, right? It took me
yeah.
weeks to do that, and it's boring work.
Yeah.
I don't massively enjoy it.
I dream
Um,
about doing it and I'm like, oh, it'd be really cool. And then I think about like what you just described. I'm like, no, I'm not going to do
Dude,
this. It's too much.
some people might enjoy it, but I think it's just labor,
Yeah.
and the whole reason you want a better tool is to save you the labor.
Right.
And so some of these new tools, they're real hit and miss though. They're like I think they're the advantage of doing it yourself, right, by hand for all the boringness. And some people might find it exciting, and that's
Yeah.
cool for them. But for me, I didn't find it particularly exciting. It's just uh it's you're in control. You're right. You're going to know exactly what you do. Your frame. You're going to know how you do your camera move and all that kind of stuff. You're completely in control. Whereas use some of these other newer tools, and it's like you're just going to throw your image at it and go like type in what you want, and you're going to hope. And then you know, one of them come back and be like, "That's good," and you're going to get a whole bunch that are like, "What the actual?"
We're not using that one.
Yeah. So it's real trial and error, but it is getting better and better all the time. So I find these things really, really exciting. I find like because they also allow you to like as a comic artist to potentially bring these stories to life, like even in a bigger way. Like I'm only using them to make little teasers, but I can make a short animated show this way. Especially as these tools get better.
I had to a friend of mine. She's doing her PhD in like AI. And part of her part of her thesis, like she was interviewing different. Anyways, her and I got in this discussion, and I was using your examples as I was like, "This is how you would think the tool would be implemented. Is that you can like train the program in the project that you're working on, and then animate it. So like you're cutting out so much of the labor." And it was a really fascinating, but I kept using your little snippets that you were posting on Facebook there as examples. Nice.
Well, because of my background, like I said, I worked for Magic Leap. I worked for Weta Workshop making Magic Leap games. So I was able to talk to a bunch of really clever scientists and engineers who were working on, like one of the first guys I met was this guy, Sam. And when I first met him working for Magic Leap, I asked, "What do you do?" And he said, "Oh, I help dock spaceships with the ISS, and with satellites using machine vision, right? Like SLAM, where you get like, cameras to understand a scene. It's basically what a Tesla is doing now, right? Like understanding the world and then getting it to navigate through the world." He was doing that 10 more years ago, right? And so I'm exposed to a bunch of people like that. So I got to see the current wave of generative tech before it was really popular. Like there was some, you might remember the word GAN. I don't know if you remember that word, generative adversarial network.
Yes.
Things called style GANs, right? So they started to become a little bit popular because they were able to do something called style transfer where you, where you basically like, take a photo and then make it look like a Van Gogh kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right. And so I was aware of all that stuff really, really early and thought, this stuff's going to be huge, man. It's going to be really useful as an artist. Like you're going to be able to do really fascinating things with it. And so I actually, before I even drew one panel of one path, I actually wrote myself out a white paper where I was going to do the whole thing. I was going to build a tool myself. Well, I would be architecting it, but I would get engineers. I would hire some software engineers to actually build it. Where I would, because I realized that because I was thinking about GAN. So GAN's very limited. It basically transfers style, and they're very dumb, right? They don't know what any of the content is. They just take the style of one image and transfer it to another thing. I thought, couldn't I build a piece of software that transfers the styles of various discrete objects within the scene? So I draw up a panel. I either draw it manually, or I use a piece of software like Unreal or Blender to frame a panel exactly what I want, and I tag each element in it. So I say, this is a T-Rex, this is one path, this is the sky, this is a tree, right? And it's all maybe color-coded. And then I get these engineers to build a piece of software that image detects all of that content, and then we train the GAN. This is before the days of where Midjourney and everything is now. I train the GAN on just my style, and I train it on each of those subcomponents as well as the whole, right?
Yeah.
And then I say, so now what I do to make a panel is I pose it up, either manually drawing it by hand or with software, and then I get it to transfer my style across, right? And so my job would be draw the key panels, draw like the 100 key panels I need, right? But get it to fill in the 1,000 panels that populate the rest of it, right? And then I thought could be a good idea because then I can make an animated show because it's now like, if I interpolate between those panels, I've got animation, right?
Yeah.
So and also there's a bunch of interesting stuff there. And anyway, at the end of the day, I wrote up this paper and I thought about this architecting, and I thought this is going to cost at least 1 year of an engineer's time, one engineer, probably two engineers really, and my time. Maybe actually, it's probably going to be 2 years. So I'm going to it's going to cost me $400,000 to make this piece of software easily, right? And that's just bare minimum just on their labor, not counting my time.
Is Bezos listening to this?
And that whole what's that?
I said, is Bezos listening to this? Because if he is, hey, give us a call.
Superseded now. All this is superseded now.
Right.
So, right, like I did the math in my head, like, oh, it's going to take me 2 years. It's going to take me nearly $500,000 New Zealand dollars.
Yeah.
And then and it'll be 2 years, and still won't have a comic. I'll have the software, and I won't know for sure if it definitely works at that point. I'll just have a dream, right? And I
Yeah.
think it can work, but who knows? And I thought, no, I'll just start drawing.
Yeah.
And I also, and I love drawing, and drawing is the payment for me. Like, part of the payment is the work's going to sell commercially, but part of the payment, and the most significant payment, is the creation of the work, right?
Mm.
And I love making the work, and I just realized, that would be fun at a technical and creative level to make that tool, but I'll be sitting idle most of the time.
Yeah.
And or I could just start now and do it manually myself. And really, it's just that doing it manually myself is more fun. Right?
Yeah.
And currently, the AI software doesn't experience joy, so it wouldn't get the joy that I get out of it.
Right.
So it's like, maybe one day they'll get joy, but right now they don't. So I decided I'll just do it all myself. But I still love that idea. But anyway, I'm glad I didn't do it, because I think probably about a year and a half after I had that idea, guys at Corridor Crew, who are a VFX studio in LA, do a bunch of cool videos on VFX and other stuff, educational stuff. They did an anime where they trained a model in an anime, and then they posed themselves in costumes, and then they did a similar sort of technique to what I'd imagined.
Okay.
And it worked really, really well. It worked
Oh, wow.
really, really well. And now jump ahead another year and a half or whatever, and the tools are like at just another level altogether, where the whole pipeline I'd imagined is almost not necessary. Although
Right.
I would love still someone to make the hybrid tool that I'm talking about. Because you could really do a lot of cool. This shit's going to go wild, man. It's going to keep on going crazier and crazier. We're only at the beginning of it, eh?
Oh yeah. We're right at the starting line. It's
yeah. It's so changeable. I get that a bunch of people have real misgivings about it, and I understand all that, but I find it really, really exciting.
Okay.
I don't think it takes away from creativity. I find it more creative. It's not that and like I said, I love making things myself by hand. I know it takes longer, but I'm in control, and I'm also getting the number one payment, right? You do things for a reason. The real reason I'm doing it is because I enjoy doing it, right?
Yeah.
I love doing it, and like I said, I've also run a studio making games, and I didn't make every single part of it. I farmed it out to 50 other people to make all the different components of it, right? And so that's essentially what you're doing when you're using AI tools, is like farming it out to something else.
Yeah.
And if you think of it like a director, like if you come at the artwork like a director, like what do I want to achieve, then suddenly these tools can force multiply you and allow you to have an even grander vision. People think it's taking something away. It's not. It's giving you a superpower that allows you to do even more. That's the way I think of it anyway.
Yeah, it's an interesting perspective. It's refreshing to hear, because a lot of times you only hear the negatives with change, kind of like what we were talking about earlier. Not to go full circle. With one path of like this budding technology, and there's the pros, and then there's the fears and the cons and everything else that come with it. Like
and the
it's
fears
change
are all
is hard.
rational too.
Sure.
They're not irrational. They're things that this tech, for instance, is going to change everything.
Yeah.
And it will change some ways in ways that are destructive. It's called creative destruction, right? For a reason.
Right.
If you were one of the handful of people in the world hand illustrating the Bible and transcribing it back before the printing press, you had a good deal, right? And that's what you're going to do.
Yeah.
And suddenly the printing press came along, right? And the Bible, the church got really angry, because it's like, what? Now, hey, hold on. We're the ones controlling the very small amount of the word of God going out, right?
Yeah.
And now you're telling me that any old pleb's going to be able to get the word of God? No. And then all the artists are like, hold up now, what? I'm doing every single Bible, and now you're telling me there's going to be millions of them? Well, they didn't even think of it that way, right? They didn't see what was really coming. But we're at that kind of turning point. And you kind of have to see ahead to the fact that there's actually just so much potential. And I think what will come out of it is really interesting. And I think if you pay attention to Instagram and these other places, people are starting to make some really wild, creative, interesting things with this stuff, man.
Yeah.
And I'm excited by that. So, but as a traditional artist who spent, and I'm going to go away, by the way, after this, my whole day and sit there and draw.
Right? Same.
Right? Yeah. Even as a traditional artist, I get the fear and I get all that, but I think you have to get really excited by the potential of it, because it's just happening one way or the other. And these models will get better, and they'll get faster to train. They'll get, like this. they're just going to get, it's going to get easier and easier for a model to collect data from the world, however, and quickly train. Like we're going to ramp up that way too.
Yeah,
Whereas at the moment, right, it takes these huge data sets and massive data centers to crunch away for like a month
but
learning. But
it all
that's going
gets
to get faster.
compressed. Yeah, just like
Yeah.
every aspect of technology, right? It always starts really big and then it just slowly gets compressed and compressed until it's, your phone or something,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
So I think you have to take a mindset of like, what is it you want to do? What is it you want to achieve? What's your goal, right?
Yeah.
Don't worry about so much the way you do things. Think about what it is you're trying to achieve, what it is you're trying to express, what are you trying to get out of you, and then you use the technology that best allows you to do that.
Yeah, definitely. So, okay, I got a little bit of an existential question then for you.
Yeah.
With One Path, like best case scenario, comic comes out, hit,
Uh-huh.
people
Yeah.
love it, resonates. We're talking live action, anime. Like, what would be something? Video game? What would be something that you'd like to see? Like an iteration of, like if
Ooh.
like it
Okay.
resonates culturally, because that's I mean, like we were talking about earlier about what's called Minecraft, right? Like this
Yeah.
started
Yeah.
as a very like simplistic game for kids, and it has evolved into this monster like cultural phenomenon.
Yeah.
One Path, like best case scenario, what would be the coolest iteration for you to see?
No, that's a interesting question.
Right?
I But this is challenging for me, because what I've done is I've pushed all that stuff away. I've been involved in making some really big films, and
Yeah,
I've had my own works built into, like I've made Dr. Grubwitz into a massive video game.
yeah,
Um, and so I've seen what that can be, and participated in those very, very big, like, multi-$100 million
Mhm.
productions and so on.
yeah.
Um, but this is going to sound really, maybe it's going to sound trite. I don't know. But
No.
One Path is super pure, like it is a comic book or a graphic
Yes.
novel.
Yeah.
I just made it for that and for nothing else.
Love
And
it.
it's not that I don't think it couldn't be those things. It could,
Sure.
but I never thought when I'm making it, could it be these other things? And part of that is, because if people think about, like, I'm making, what do they call it, a 360 franchise? Is that what the word is? Like, there's been a number of words over the
Oh,
years for, like,
yeah.
right, your property.
Where,
It's a comic
where
book,
it
but
becomes an
don't worry, it's gonna.
IP. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, and I use that term as well, IP. So I kind of
Yeah.
hate that term, but I use it.
Same. I hate it.
Yeah, it's going to become a film, and it's going to become a video game, and it's made for all these things. And look, you should invest in it because it can be all these things.
Right.
That's fine. I get it. But I'm like, no, this is a comic book. It is just what's on the page.
Yeah.
And that's partially because then it can be pure. Then I can make every decision, every creative decision can be unfettered.
Yeah.
I don't have to filter it through, like, oh, if this is a video game, then X, Y, and Z probably need to happen. If this is a film, then X, Y, and Z need to happen. And some of those might be censorship kind of things, like, oh, the
Yeah.
characters can't be nude, or there can't be as much violence, or I can't have this
Yeah.
theme. But some of them might be really micro little things, 1,000 cuts, right? That all actually chip away until the thing is kind of now in a kind of generic one size fits all formula. I
Right.
just really didn't want to do that. The beauty of comics is that it can be pure. It can be anything. This is why you
Yeah.
love comics.
Yeah.
The potential is wild.
This is like the best answer in my opinion. Like, I mean, like, there's a part of me, I guess, because most of the comics I work on these days are creator owned. So it's like
Yeah.
me and a couple other guys. And so we're like hoping that this project hits big, right? Like,
Yeah.
just because like it creates, I guess, some shred of financial security long term. So like
Yeah.
dream, I think the dream, especially for like American comic artists, is like, oh God, you hope that your graphic novel gets optioned and then made into a film, and whether the movie's good or bad, as long as it's like palatable, and then you get to walk away with like, my house is paid for, like that's one of the things here. But in terms of like, from a creative standpoint though, it's like, we see what happens with, like you said, like there's, One Path will be played by Megan Fox and she'll be gorgeous. You know what I mean? Like that's what will end up happening.
Yeah.
They'll put a little scar on her or something and they're like, yeah. And it'll be, that will be the movie,
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yes. That's the beauty of comics, man, is it can be pure. It doesn't have to be all that.
Yeah.
By the way, because if you're making a film, you want to completely focus on the film. What the film should be pure, right?
Right.
And if you focused on the game, it's like, I would throw away anything that didn't make the game better, right? So there are their own problems, right? And whatever
Yeah.
mediums come out in the future, it's like you focus on those. If it's going to be a short set of reels on Instagram, make it about that,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
So the medium is so important when it comes to that kind of thing. You really lean into it.
I loved
Man.
your answer.
By the way, I'm not against all those other things.
Oh, of course
be
not.
those other things, and of
Yeah.
course, I want it to be successful. But
Yeah.
also, I realize that I think the way I'm approaching it, of making it pure to itself, is the best way to make it successful, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not saying it will be. I have no idea what the world will think of it, but I know that if I start making compromises, that takes away its heart. It's
Yeah.
its uniqueness and so on. And so what I truly think, I want to see something interesting and profound, or that moves you, whether
Yeah.
that be funny or emotional or whatever. I want to feel that, and if I make all these choices to cut away the edges, I'll end up with something that's actually less. So I want it to be even more of what it is.
Yeah.
So I love it.
That may be.
Because like the past few projects that have been my own, like that was my approach. Is like it has to be a certain, like it has to be this vision. This is my vision that I have for it. Like is it going to be marketable? I don't know. I don't care. That's not something that I'm focused on. It has to tell the story. And I think that when you're able to do that and you're not concerned about, I guess, the outside factors, that's when you make the best. That's when the best stories get told. Whether it doesn't matter what the content is, there's like a passion, there's a love in it. Is I guess as fluffy as that sounds.
It's true, man. The audience feels that. Some of those things can all be really intangible. You might not even know what all the choices are.
Yeah.
Emotionally, you do, but you might not be able to externalize them, rationalize them. But the audience feels them too. I think.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
I'm not saying that. Yeah, there are. People will make an argument for what sort of things are more marketable and how you sell things, and I'm sure all those things are true. I just don't think those are the things those are the metrics you should be following to make good art, right?
No.
I don't mean art in like the arty-farty sense of like, I'm an artist. And, no, you're trying to, what are you trying to do? You're trying to express something true, as close to truth as you can find it.
Yeah.
Right? That's what you're trying to do.
Yeah, exactly.
And when you do that in a profound way, other people react to it and relate to it. And that becomes commercially successful. So they do the same thing.
Yeah.
But then we try and read the tea leaves of like, well, this was successful and this wasn't. And therefore I start making all these externally based decisions that are more commercial. And I don't think that makes things more likely to be successful.
No. I think you're absolutely right.
Easier to sell in the upfront.
Yeah.
But it doesn't make them better. And people know. People go to the movies and they watch these sort of washed out, hollow things, and they don't feel anything.
No. Did you? I know One Path is like your baby. When in the early stages, because I ran into this several times in my career. Did you have any kind of we'll just say like higher ups that were like, "Oh, you're doing something interesting, but you should do this, this, and this," and they were those kind of changes to make it more mainstream, palatable,
You mean
or marketable?
With One Path?
Yeah, with One Path. Did you have any of that?
Not at all.
Okay.
No, because One
Awesome.
Path is entirely me. So it's I did have friends and other people who I respect looking at it and making comments, but I ignored it.
Yeah.
It's not that I don't respect them. It's just that I'm like, oh, that's interesting. That's what you would do if you were doing it. But I'm doing what I would do.
Yeah. I got a buddy who's always giving me love him, but he always gives me like, I don't want to say bad ideas, but like just out there ideas, and you're like,
yeah,
cool, man. Yeah, I'll, you know what? You should make a comic book. That would be great. Thanks for the idea.
Yeah,
that's why he likes to send me stuff, because I just have very base level knowledge. So I'm like, oh, dude, that's fucking awesome.
If I need a pump up, I was like, hey, Brian, check out this page. I said, oh, dude, that's fucking rad. Oh, yeah.
I'm your guy.
Yeah. And if I'm having a bad day, then I'm like, oh, yeah, okay, I'll send it to Brian. He'll pump me up.
Yep.
Yeah.
Awesome. I've had that with other projects, by the way. The more money, right? If someone else is paying you to help do a thing, right? Then suddenly you got to listen to them. It's their money, and their money's on the line.
Yeah.
Right? When it's your money on the line, it's your mistake to make it. But But yeah, no, in this case, it's just all me. So, well,
That's
like I
awesome.
say, Andy, I could besmirch Andy and Nick's reputation, so I hope I don't. But yeah, it's mostly on me.
That's awesome. Bri, I think it's time.
Okay, it's time for the question.
The question. The question.
All right, great.
We have a few little segments that we're going to make it run through here.
Alrighty.
So this is something that we ask every guest who comes on the show, and that is, if you were given the opportunity, we're going back to IP, the thing we all hate but love also at the same time. But if you were given the opportunity to make any IP out there, it could be comic, game, movie, TV show, whatever it might be, to turn that into a comic book or do your own series of something, what would you want to do?
Huh. Oh, dude, I'll have to sit here and think about an answer. I've not thought about that.
Yeah.
So I don't. I always think about what I want to make next. I'm a bit weird. I don't think about other IPs and how they
Sure.
and what I would like to do with them. So I don't have a pat answer. What would I do? I would want to find something that probably hasn't been done as a comic book. And therefore I would want to go really left field. And I'm just trying to think, what would that be? My brain goes to like religious things, but I think they've all been done as well. Because I think there's obviously great stories and a lot of these sort of religious myths and so on.
Yeah.
Dude, what would it fucking be?
Right. What are some of the like weirder or more different answers we've gotten besides casual like Batman or something?
Yeah. So we've had I think one of my favorites was the Munsters. Someone said they would want to do one on the Munsters.
Yeah.
We've had some really like another person had
was it Quantum Leap? Didn't we have a Quantum Leap?
Another one.
Yeah.
Some obscure fantasy novel someone wanted to do. And I don't remember what it is off the top of my head, but we've had I mean we've had mainstream ones too, but yeah, we've had some ones that really go out there.
I'm looking around to see what's inspired me because I've got lots of like stuff that I grew up with that I dig, but it's all the stuff you've probably heard of.
No.
And I would want to do something where my brain goes to like, oh, could I tell the story of? And so you're talking about a story that's already known, right? Right? Could you take a story that's known in some paradigm?
Yeah.
And then
anything like you said, like a religion or something.
Yeah. So I'm like, what story is known by the public but has never been as a comic book? So my brain goes to think crazy things like, could you tell the story of PewDiePie, right?
Oh, interesting.
Right?
Yeah.
And maybe it's not completely real. Maybe it's not a real slice of life. Maybe PewDiePie is, I don't know, a villain in the story or a superhero with extra abilities or they're on the fucking moon. I don't know. I haven't thought about it. But do you know what I mean? Like I would pick, like, is Mr. Beast being a comic? I'm just randomly picking YouTubers and influencers because I don't think they've been comic books. And so I think
Logan Paul. Impulsive, the comic book.
The Kardashians. Yeah, man. So I think what are they
you want to make some money. Kardashians, the graphic novel. There you go.
Oh, God.
I would want to pick something like that people know that story somehow, or they think they do, and you use that as a source material to make a comic book.
Yeah.
That could be really fun.
I like that. That's actually
I like it a lot.
That's a good answer. But
I wouldn't make a comic book of Mr. Beast or PewDiePie. Like I personally wouldn't. But like I would. That's where my brain goes. That's the tunnel I would go down until I found like something really strange, like that people know and care about, but has not been thought of that way.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, that is a. Yeah, I feel like that. I'm surprised that's not a lane that doesn't exist. I feel like the social media influencer comics are coming.
Well, they all try and make comics. They make comics, but not like. I haven't
really?
Seen one. Yeah, I mean, you've seen like the
Did Mr. Beast make a comic?
No, but some of the like really alt.
Oh, okay.
Like to make comics.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
What about like other figures? Politicians, big tech people.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Right?
I would like to see an Abe Lincoln comic. That would be kind of interesting.
Isn't there one of him as like a vampire hunter or something like that? Or am I?
No, you're right. There was a whole slew of American like founding fathers that were like hunting werewolves and vampires, and then they became like these bad. They made like a series of bad movies that. I know I watched the Abe Lincoln Vampire Hunter one that was it was actually not that bad.
Are there comics of Genghis Khan?
I don't think so.
Right.
I don't think so.
I mean, maybe from like the 60s, like Dell or
Yeah.
Golden Key Comics, but not recently. I don't think I've
It's
seen
like a whole Conan thing you could do with that, right? He's the original
Dude.
Conan, man.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, he really is. I would read the shit out of that.
Yeah,
That would
same.
be
Yeah.
because he's like a guy where like they know when he was born, but they don't know where, and then they don't even know where he's buried still. Like I don't think they even know where.
Probably, eh?
Yeah, which is
I
really
listened to a
fascinating.
whole like 6-hour podcast recently on the history of the Mongols, focusing on him, of
Was
course.
it hardcore history?
I did listen to one with Dan
Dan
Carlin. But
Carlin,
no, this
yeah.
was one called Fallen Civilizations, I think it's called. It's like a
Oh.
YouTube series. It's really good. They do basically these multi-hour long stories of civilization from start to end, basically how it fell, right? So it's fascinating. Actually, yeah, I think I listened to that and the Dan Carlin one.
Yeah, I know. I listened to the
so many stories in there.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and the Khan is so interesting too, because like after he went with like his sons, like trying to run China and Mongolia at the same time, and then you have Kublai Khan and all that. Just so fascinating. But
it really is.
Anyways, we don't want to keep you too long, so as we start kind of like winding down, there's something that we do towards the end where we review, kind of go see what everybody's reading. In terms of comics, if you're, and some people, sometimes our guests aren't reading comics, so it's like if you're reading any like right now, Brian's been reading a series of novels, sci-fi novels. So, but
nice.
You're our guest, so Greg, what are you reading these days? What are you taking in?
I don't have a comic answer because I aren't read. I buy. You know what I do? I buy comics a lot.
Yeah,
of them.
even better. That's fine.
I end up. I just look at the artwork a lot of the time, and then I don't read them. I pull open to my favorite pages, and then go, "Wow." But I don't actually read the stories.
I do the same thing. It's fine.
But I'll tell you what I am reading. I'm reading this guy, David Deutsch, who's a British physicist. He's probably in his 80s or so.
Okay.
He's a quantum physicist.
Oh.
But I'm not really super fascinated with the quantum physics. I find that interesting, but a bit brain melting.
Mm-hmm.
But right, it's fucking hits your head, that shit.
Yeah.
But he's actually he's fascinating because he's kind of philosophical in a way, and he's all about epistemology. Like, why do we know things, or why do we think we know things, and how do we create new knowledge? How do we create explanations for things? And I can tell you that I've read his first book, and I read it as a primer to try and understand his second book, which I've just started, which is called the first one is called, what's the new one called? Fuck. I think it's called The Beginning of Infinity.
Okay.
And the first one might have been called The Fabric of Reality. Anyway, they're both amazing, and they're eye-opening, and they make you think about how we try and understand the world at all. And I know this sounds a bit like it's about science and knowledge and philosophy, which it is, but it's actually, to me, more influential about how I approach art and creativity in general, and what creativity really is.
Yeah.
So I found him truly inspirational. I'll just throw out one of his things on the science side that he is the proponent of, which is the multi-universe theory, right? The multiverse theory.
Yeah.
That quantum physics is not about an observer being the thing that collapses the wave function necessarily. It's actually that there are near infinite universes running in parallel. Right. And when you start to really internalize that idea, it can really shape you. Right. You realize that what I realize is I want to make sure that I'm being the best me in this universe, right? I want to beat all the other Gregs in the other universes.
There can be only one. There can be only one.
Yeah, that's right. I hope they're doing great too, but I'm definitely going to do better. I'm going to try my damnedest.
Yeah.
And anyway, like his ideas are mind-boggling, and they are about like knowledge itself, or what we think is knowledge, and explanation. So anyway, I find that super fascinating. That's the book I'm mainly reading.
And who's the author of that?
David Deutsch.
David Deutsch. Okay, I
recommend going to listen to his podcast. He looks like a little Yoda dude.
Nice.
He's all white-haired and slender, and he's very polite and lovely. But he is very serious, very thoughtful. He's one of the wisest fucking people. Just his way of thinking totally resonates with me.
I'm on it.
But I have to penetrate the physics and everything else, which I'm only sort of superficially understanding to get down to like what he's really talking about how we understand the universe.
Did I hear you? I originally went to school for I thought I was going to be a veterinary scientist, and once I got into the like actual science classes, like, oh Nope. We're going to art. Art it is. Art it is. Yeah, I love science, but I don't have a mind. Like I just don't have the mind for the how they build on the knowledge as they retain it.
Yeah.
I'm not
Some
good at
people are
that.
good at that, man, and more power to them, and we can learn
Yeah,
from them. So
yeah. Bri, what are you reading, man? What are you?
Well,
What's the big guy
we're
got?
going from extreme highbrow to like really, really lowbrow with what I'm reading.
That's what we
And
expect from you.
I know. And then also going full circle talking about sequels as well, and everything is just sequels now. So I am reading Batman Hush 2.
But
So
explain the importance of why this is a big deal right now in the industry.
this is a huge deal right now because Jim Lee is drawing the interiors of this book, and that's something that he doesn't do anymore. And Batman, the original Batman Hush was from 2002, and that was like one of his that was probably his biggest Batman book that he did. Super famous, 12, I believe it was 12 full issues of just a mystery of every villain, every Batman villain that you can think of coming in and out of every issue. And this one looks to be really more of the same. I don't know how well it's like story wise it's going to be, but I mean, dude, it looks fucking fantastic because it's Jim Lee. And one of the things that I really enjoyed, especially from the first Hush, Jeff Loeb, love him or hate him. One of the things I really appreciate that he does as a writer, specifically as a Batman writer, is I think he does really well with Batman, the inner dialogue and what he's thinking about, like from like a tactical situation of like he goes into a room full of dudes or like Killer Croc or Joker or one of these guys, and it's his inner dialogue of like what he's going to do and how he's going to take them down, how they're going to counter and how he's going to counter that. Cool. And they're bringing that into Hush 2. And then like, here's some of the interiors. I mean, it's Jim Lee is fantastic.
wow.
He's my goat. So if he's drawn interiors, it's a big deal to me. And
didn't he say a couple years ago he was never probably gonna come back and draw interiors, right? Like this is
I actually asked him that question at Rose City Comic Con a few years ago. I asked him like what it was going to take for him, and his answer was like he didn't outright say no, but he was like it takes away from my regular day job. But I mean, honestly, he was probably working on this at that time, and he just couldn't say anything. But yeah,
what's his regular day job? Like what
he's
like covers?
He runs like DC Comics essentially.
DC Comics, okay. Yeah.
I think is he the editor in chief or executive?
He's like the chief creative officer or something like that of DC. Yeah.
Gotcha. So he's busy. Yeah. I mean, like I feel like he's at like every major convention around the world. And like
also just the nicest dude. Like so nice. So Greg, I met him. So like at Rose City Comic Con, and then at one point he was leaving. He was going up the escalator right in front of us, and we were like, "Hey Jim, your panel was really awesome." And then he turned around as he was getting ready to leave, and he was like asking us how the convention was for us. And I was like, "Oh, I bought a bunch of books." And he like stopped and was like, "Let me see them. I want to see what you got." And so he stopped, had like a 3-minute interaction, and I handed him all my comics. He was looking through them like, "Oh, that one's great." Nice. And then it was like, all right, guys, take care. Like we didn't like ask for picture. We didn't do any of that stuff, but it was just like a genuine, like 3-minute interaction that made the entire weekend for us. It was
really
cool.
Don't you feel
he loves his comics, right? He loves it. It's true.
Don't you feel like that those type of moments are better though than like taking a picture 100%. With somebody famous? Because it's like you had a real human moment with the guy. Well, that's so much more memorable.
I was with Matt, and Matt was like, I thought about getting the phone out or whatever, but I was like, no, I didn't want to. Where I'm like, I'm glad you didn't. So it was
kind of really tainted. Great. It would taint the moment, right? Like it's more of like I got to actually speak with him as a person.
We tried to get him on the show,
but to be doing new artwork, man. He must be because clearly he's enjoying it because you can see it in the page you showed.
Yeah, We tried to get him on the show, but he never emailed me back. So. What are you gonna do? Yeah. But so that's what I'm really excited about for comics right now. It's just Jim Lee's return.
It's cool.
Tad, what are you reading right now?
Okay. Well, I'm working on this, Greg. I've been doing this book called Taiga, and it's kind of like One Path in the sense that it's like it's my own. It's just me. I do it on the side. and I had this particular vision to challenge myself artistically.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, I have to get this thing out. And but one of the things I do as this character that I'm calling the Bean, as it goes through different stages in its generation, because it's like basically come to life after like 30,000 years, is I'm trying to change up my art style. And so
Oh.
now I'm going into this like different chapter or different atmosphere for the character. And one of the styles I'm trying to emulate is I've always wanted to immerse myself in like the Mobius,
Oh
like you're
yeah.
saying heavy metal. Like I just I don't I admittedly can't understand his comics a lot of times, but I understand the storytelling and the
Yeah.
art, and I just always thought it was so there's something so unique about it. Just the
Hmm.
feeling it gave you when you looked at it, and so because of a lot of the book is atmospheric, I was like, okay, this is the challenge. Is I want to try and see if I have like a Mobius gear inside of me, and
Yeah.
so to do that, I got my hands on. There was a reprint of it from Epic Comics back in like '91, but it was Airtight Garage, and so that is kind of what I've been looking at just to see how he handles storytelling, rendering, coloring,
Hmm.
all kinds of stuff. Just trying to get a little weird with it.
Yeah, fun,
Yeah,
man.
yeah,
Mobius is like on another wavelength, man. Like he's a
uh,
true singular artist, right? They just had such a unique style. I would
yeah,
say he influenced Jeff Darrow, but even Jeff Darrow, right, has got his own
Yeah.
totally wild thing going. You can see a kind of connection or some sort of
yeah.
inspiration, but not the same. There's almost no. Yeah. Mobius was utterly unique.
Yeah, it was so, like obviously I'm not I can't mimic Mobius, nor should I try. But I just want to tap into like whatever
Hmm.
energy he's putting out to see. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, can I change my style enough so that it has this kind of like feel that whatever he's
Hmm.
he's tapping into. And I don't know. I've gotten through the first few pages, and I'm going somewhere. I'm going somewhere with it.
Yeah.
Like I'm using it almost as like an artistic exploration for myself to see like
Yeah.
what works for me, what can I do, what can't I do, that sort of thing. But
You'll get something out of it, eh? You'll get
yeah,
inspired by something, and you'll find something in yourself because you haven't looked from that angle before,
right,
right?
exactly,
And challenged
exactly.
yourself in that way, and that stuff's always good. Yeah,
Yeah,
man,
yeah. So
exciting.
that's what I read, but it was more of like I guess homework. Yeah, yeah. But
Awesome.
yeah, that's pretty much it. Uh, what do you say, Greg? We've had you for quite a while. Why don't we say we start wrapping this up? Say trip
For
over my
sure, man.
words.
All
Okay.
right.
Fun. Yeah, man.
You want me to take us home?
Yeah, let's take us home.
All right. All right, Tiger Cubs. Thank you so much for either tuning in or watching us on YouTube. Please like, review, subscribe. If you want to find out the home of Blue Tiger Revenge, just go to our website, bluetigerrevenge.substack.com. You can subscribe, and they send you an email every time we post a new episode, both on YouTube and on audio format. So make it really easy for you. If you want to follow us on social media, just find us on Instagram at Blue Tiger Revenge. Where we like to post fun things about when we have new episodes, little clips, little snippets from here and there. And finally, Mr. Greg Broadmore, man, thank you so much for coming on
Yeah.
today and chatting with us. Can you give us one last spiel about your new book, One Path?
Thanks, man. Well, thanks, guys. Thanks for having me. Really fun.
Good.
Yeah. So, One Path is out real soon. It's out on April the 30th, I think now. Yeah, a book of violence and terror and cave women holding on to life against a
Yeah.
brutal army of dinosaurs that are trying to destroy them. And yeah, I hope you enjoy it.
I love it. All right. So
Awesome.
yeah, if you guys want to find that, you can find it hopefully at your local comic book shops or online as well. So make sure you pick that up. It's a really great read. You guys are going to love it. And that is all I have, Tad. Do you have anything else?
I do have one last thing. At the end of this month, I believe last weekend was April 26th, 27th.
Yep.
Brian and I will be I will be with Bry, but I will also be a guest at Arctic Comic Con here in Anchorage. So I'm not doing many cons this year. So if you want to come and say hi, you want to meet the big man himself, come on down, come on, fly on up wherever you're coming from. I don't know, but yeah, that's what we got going. Other than that, I am all out of milk, sir.
All right. Well, if that's the case, what time is it?
Hit the music.